Hello, everyone. My name is Paul Stevens, and welcome to our first short-term rentals webinar of 2025. This time discussing how to drive revenue with the right partners and product integrations, sponsored by PriceLabs. And go to the next slide. So I'm the editor of short-term rentals here at International Hospitality Media, and I'm the host for today's session. And before we begin, we've got a quick video from our webinar sponsor for today and for our series, PriceLabs. So let's watch this video.
PriceLabs, a leader in revenue management, is unveiling its breakthrough release. Discover the new hyperlocal pulse dynamic pricing algorithm. By tapping into hyperlocal market trends, it's setting new standards in accurate pricing and response to market changes. With our smart presets, customize our algorithm easily and get personalized guidance. With our desktop app, speed up your workflows and manage multiple listings smoothly from your computers. Experience our award-winning product created by a world-class data science team. With our global reach, anyone, anywhere can use PriceLabs. Discover more game-changing updates crafted to propel your short-term rentals to success. Visit pricelabs.co/breakthrough today.
So a big thank you to PriceLabs sponsoring today's session and our series. I'm really excited to unveil our speaker lineup for today. I'm going to get them all to introduce themselves very briefly. So why not start from the left? Annie, please, if you'd like to introduce yourselves for us.
Hi, I'm Annie Holcomb. I am the Director of Technical Supply Partnerships at NextPax, oversee the Americas, which is everything from the North Pole to the South Pole.
Thank you, Annie. And next we have Jared, please.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jared Ulster, the co-founder and chief strategy officer here at Dune 7. We're an organic marketing growth agency. We work with clients across the short-term rental sector as well as the global industry at large. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Jared. Next up, please, Alexis from Le Collectionniste. Alexis, perhaps you're on mute, I don't know.
I apologize. So I'm Alexis Canard, the CFO of The Collectionist. We are doing luxury rentals with services in Europe.
Thank you, Alexis. And last but my name is least, Eric, if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Hello, everybody. Eric Muller, founder and CEO of FreeWild. We build unique cabins in the woods in different nature markets around the country. And then we also have a service part of the company called Foundry, where we do high-end revenue management for large short-term rental portfolios.
Thank you, Eric, and thank you to all of our panel for joining us today. I'm really looking forward to talking with all of you. And now if we go on to our next slide. So some webinar guidelines for today. All of the details are going to be posted in the chat throughout, so please do go there to ask any of our panelists a question. We will have a panel discussion leading into audience questions today, and then a recording will be sent round to everyone within the next 24 to 48 hours. And before we begin, let's just put today's conversation into a bit of context. So here are a couple of stories that we've covered on short-term rentals over the last year, looking at some of the major partnerships, a range of partnerships here, notably Airbnb's partnership with Greystar for short-term lets in the UK. It's Airbnb Friendly Apartments Programme, and also our sponsor PriceLabs partnership with Your.Rentals to offer free dynamic pricing. And the next slide, please. And some news from our speakers companies too, notably Annie's NextPax, partnering with the Asian OTA Trip.com group, and Alexis Le Collectionniste raising 60 million euros to accelerate its acquisition strategy back in late 2022. And our next slide, if you haven't already read it, I'd thoroughly recommend checking out our 2025 short-term rental industry predictions, piece from December, in which we delved into over-tourism, systemization, and how AI will transform markets. And it also featured some of Jared's insights too, which we can touch on a little bit shortly. So let's get straight into the conversation and really look at delving into what are the key components that we're looking for out of any partnership or integration, whatever company you are in the short-term rental space. I'll come to you first, Annie. Lots of experience in the space, and of course you're now at NextPax now. And you worked Homes and Villas by Marriott International as well, and many other companies in the space. I guess when you're approaching a partnership or integration, what do you ultimately want to get out of that, Annie?
I think the important thing is just to have a goal in mind. So for us, I think at any organization that I've been, when you're looking at partnerships and integrations, it's what is the consumer ultimately looking for? So making sure that you're listening to their needs, wants, and wishes, and kind of finding the right path and the right partner that could respond to those needs, wants, and wishes. From, if you're looking at it from the property manager's perspective, it's a similar thing. What is your consumer looking for? What is the guest that's staying in your properties looking for? So selecting the right partner that could fill the response to the needs of your guest is just as much important as it is for any of the integration partners that you work with. We're always looking to meet the needs of our collective customers.
And with NextPax too, I believe, and just doing a bit of research on your website too, I think you're connected to over 150 distribution channels, of course, including Airbnb and Booking and Expedia, Vrbo. How do you yourself, or how does your team ensure that real smooth integration process with NextPax?
So again, it goes back to having those conversations and understanding what everybody's goals are going into it. So, if it's an integration partner that's really looking to scale their inventory, then we target the markets where they can do that and have those conversations before we do the integration. But our API team is always in touch with the partner from beginning to end to make sure that integration is smooth. But I think, again, it goes back to any partnership. It's really making sure you have those conversations at the very beginning to understand what everybody's goals are so that you're able to meet those goals along the process.
Thank you, Annie. Really looking forward to your insights across today's session. Let's turn now to Jared. And Jared, you mentioned that your company is June 7, and you're an SEO and organic growth marketing agency working, and you work with clients in short-term rentals and also widely across travel tech. Could you just explain to us a little bit more about kind of your mission with June 7, what you're trying to get out of the company?
Yeah, certainly. I think I perhaps come at this conversation slightly different than everyone, just because in a lot of ways we are the partner that are partnering with the brand. We also have a lot of B2B software clients who are, of course, selling their software into the global travel supply and the brand side. So I think, in our perspective, I echo what Annie said in terms of making sure that you have clear business objectives and goals. And then also even thinking about when you're onboarding a new piece of software, and I think especially something that's core to your operations, that you're not just thinking about features and benefits. Those are very, very important, of course, but also thinking about innovation and how you see your company and your, call it, innovation roadmap, and how that partner might, either be on that same sort of level with you or not. I think it's worth knowing where you're going as a company and making sure that anyone that you bring into your ecosystem as a partner also has that same vision.
And I mean, a lot of people will tell me that travel and short-term rentals ultimately is a very collaborative industry. Is this something that you notice across the landscape? And if that is the case, why do you think that?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. I mean, I think travel is notorious for having lots of different gatekeepers, like the big OTAs in some senses and Google. So I think just by the nature of the architecture of the industry, that it has to be collaborative because you have to partner with booking. You know, if you want to see bookings from around the world or Europe, and you're a property manager in the US, you know, you need them as a partner. You need a partner like a NextPax because you want to make sure that you are distributed to all of the different major players in all the different regions. So I think it's by necessity in a way. And perhaps, you know, going forward, some of those walls are broken down, but at least now as we see the industry, it is it's collaborative, but also siloed at the same time.
And that's true. I think with so many players and such a fragmented industry, that is so important. I'm going to ask the same question that I asked to Annie, and be interesting to see if you've got the same perspective or you can add something on it. But what do you think are the key components to any successful partnership or integration, particularly maybe when you go into business and get new clients?
I think it's important for both sides to sort of initially validate each other. Obviously, the brand is trying to validate and suss out the, you know, whether it's a vendor, a partner, software company. But also, I think on the flip side, the vendor or partner needs to equally qualify and validate the potential client just to make sure it's a good fit with their product. So I think that works both ways.
Excellent. Thank you, Jared, and we'll come back to you again very, very shortly. But let's head over to Alexis, based over in France, in Marseille. Welcome to this webinar, Alexis. Really excited to have Le Collectionniste on, and of course, you're a luxury holiday rental brand over here in Europe, one of the biggest across the continent. I think I was reading as well, you've got over 100 travel partners, but you also have lots of different types of partners as well. So what does a successful partnership or integration look like for Le Collectionniste?
Well, yeah, correct. It depends on how you define partners, but I see it like two ways. The first part would be on the tech side, what could be our partners and what could be a ideal partnership. For us, actually, it was not easy to find product that would actually exactly what we need. As we are doing like luxury services, we are not doing really like mass market. We don't do many bookings. I mean, we do bookings, of course, but the average basket, if I can say that, is higher. So we don't have a large volume to handle, and we have specificities because we are doing like everything like tailor-made, from client to owners to any service providers that we can bring in. So for us, it wasn't easy to find the right products on the tech part of it. And at the end, what we did in the past like 5 years, I would say, we actually built a lot of things by our own with our tech team. And then the question is like how the tech team and the product team can develop the right tools for all the ops team. So it's another like partnership like internally, and usually it's not so easy to make it work perfectly. So that would be like the first kind of partnership I had in mind. And the other part of partnership is more about finding the right property managers on site when we need to find some to welcome our guests, to be sure that they can talk to our type of clients. We would be very careful also to find the right service providers, to be sure that we have the right chef, the right services to offer to our clients, because at the end it's our, like, of course, reputation at stake. So on those kind of partnership, for us, it's really being focused on the client experience, and that has to be almost perfect. So what we do usually is like we try, of course, to test everything before. There's a lot of trainings to be done. And at the end, we need to have people that can know how to talk to those kind of people and to be really reactive. There's like so many issues. And then once we find them, if the client's experience is good enough, I mean, if the NPS score is good enough, we try to keep them and and usually they are tending to be loyal to us. So it's a win-win situation. So yeah, there would be those kind of partnership I had in mind.
Yeah, and of course you operate in the luxury and premium space specifically, and I also saw on your website that you claim to have the highest client satisfaction in the industry, which is a testament to what you're trying to create. How does one become a host, and what's the sort of the process to partnering with the right property managers for the local needs?
So for us, property managers could be the one that are welcoming our guests. So we do, I think, 80% of welcoming our guests with our own team. Our goal is really it's in our DNA to be on site, to be here, but sometimes we are opening new markets. We need to get some people to help us. Usually it's contractors, property managers, and what we do is usually when you know an area, you know who could be best at doing it for us. And it's just like an interview, as you would do for hiring someone in your company. So it's just not like, okay, this is my price. It's pretty thorough interviews just to be sure that we can do it in a perfect way.
Excellent. Yeah, thank you, Alexis, and we'll head back to you again very shortly. I want to bring in Eric now as well. Eric, again, you're a very experienced figure within the short-term vacation rental space. I think you can almost approach it from two different angles, because you've now got your cabin rental agency, Freewild, but you also got the overnight success platform too. And I know a lot about helping hosts achieve this financial freedom, and you're offering educational training and mastermind coaching, etc. In your mind, what is the sort of secret sauce, if there is one, to a successful partnership or integration?
Yeah, so excuse me. So right now with Freewild, all of our focus is on expanding the Freewild brand. For the last 3 years, we've been really kind of developing out our ethos as a brand, as a company, building our first location and moving into second and third hotel locations this year. And then along with that, with our service side, the Freewild Foundry on the revenue management service side, both sides of our businesses were focused particularly on boutique scale, right? And everybody that we bring in, everyone that we're focused to work with, either are investors on the real estate side, or our boots on the ground partners, or on the revenue management side, the companies that we work with. The number one thing that we're looking for right now, it's of course like what everyone else is saying. Do they have a great product? Are they solving a problem that we need? Are they solving a problem that our guest needs? All of that. But the number one thing that we're looking for right now is value alignment, right? So value of who we are as a company. So we're very, very particular on who we work with. We have large visions on what we're doing with Freewild and how we're going to scale this, over the next 10 plus years. And we're not in a rush to get there. And we want to be very intentional with who we align with. We're not looking for the cheapest partners that can move the fastest and promise us a million different things. We're right now looking for companies that we can align with that have similar core values, right? I'm sure we've all have been down the path of working with different partners that have promised the world, and yeah, maybe they're good at what they do, but their core values as a team just conflicts with how we operate as a team. And there's just a lot of unnecessary friction there. So that's, of course, we go down the line, are they a great company? Do they have a great product? We really look into the team to make sure that, the team is well trained, the team is mission focused, And then through conversations, especially on our revenue management side, the partners that we work with there, well, one, Price Labs is our partner in the revenue management side of our business. And they're just, in my opinion, the best of the best at what they do. They have a great product, they have a great team, they're well funded, and they're constantly focused on growth. And they're always available to receive feedback. And what I noticed with the team at Price Labs is we give them feedback, they take it in as a team, they analyze it, and they implement it, right? And it's freaking amazing to work with a partner like that. So yeah, so like at the end of the day, like working with all different types of companies in this industry throughout the years, like that is, of course, we look at the baseline. Do they have a good product? Can they solve a problem for us? Can we serve them in some way? But at the end of the day, do we have a values alignment? That's the biggest thing that I see right now.
Thank you for that, Eric. And again, we'll come back to you very soon too. Annie, if I head back to you, and again, you're approaching this from a channel management and software perspective, and maybe also calling on previous experience too. But how do you identify the channels or the partners that you want to have a distribution or tech partnership with, especially as there are so many players in the marketplace that haven't yet been acquired?
So from a channel perspective, I think again it goes back to what is the property manager looking to accomplish. One thing that I know to be true is that there's no cookie cutter way to look at the business. I mean, every market is different, every operator is different, every company has different goals, and so you need to be able to help them align channels with the goals of their business. So I know for NextPacks, like what I try to do when we talk to new partners is talk to them about their goals. Like, what is it that they're trying to accomplish? Is it just about marketing? Is it really about growing revenues? Are they looking to broaden their distribution so it looks good for their owners so they can grow their rental pool? So it's taking a lot of those things into consideration. There's a lot of really great channels out there that have a lot of great marketing, but at the end of the day, it really is about giving the partner the channel that's going to meet the needs of their business. And I think I talk to channels all the time. It's great. Everybody wants to have all the Florida inventory, but if they're not able to move the needle any better than any of the channels that already exist, then what's the value proposition? So it's really about understanding the value proposition of the channel and helping it align with the property manager and their business. I mean, I don't know if that answers your question, but I think it's really, there's no black and white way to approach it. It really is a kind of a customizable menu that you would present to a property manager for channels.
No, that absolutely does answer it. I guess we talked about successful partnerships, but for property managers who might be tuning into this live or later on demand, are there any maybe red flags or signs that you would cause you to end or reassess a partnership that people maybe should be aware of?
I think kind of touching on what Eric said about alignment with companies. People have lofty goals and dreams of where they can take their organization, and channels especially. I think that everybody has a new way of approaching what their channel is going to do different than the other. But at the end of the day, there's only so many ways, lack of better ways, there's so many ways to skin the cat. Like there's only so many ways you can differentiate yourself, and so at some point it becomes really truly what are you able to deliver. And if you're not able to deliver, then maybe that's not the right partnership. And it's not to say that they wouldn't be a good partner for somebody else, but I think you have to look at it kind of holistically, like what is the core of your customer looking for and what is this channel able to deliver. And then I think overall red flag would be obviously the ability to be financially stable. I mean, let's face it, partners have been stuck in bad positions where companies have been merchant of record and suddenly found that their bank accounts were debited for a large amount of cash because the channel had a problem. So I think that there's a lot of these things that you kind of have to take into consideration: the financial viability of a company, organizational alignment, in terms of goals and kind of the culture of the business. But again, there is no black and white way to approach it. I feel like after 30 years in the business, a lot of it is gut instinct. So I rely on that a lot. And I think that most of the people that I work with, kind of the same way, we all have a kind of a 6-7 degree separation of each other, and we can call and ask questions about one another and really do some behind the scenes digging if we need to. But it's a great industry, and for the most part, I think everybody's pretty honest and open about what their business offers. And so I haven't seen a ton of red flags, but always open to being alerted of one if I missed it.
And it's true. I mean, ultimately, we are in a hospitality industry too, so there is that desire to deliver for the partners that perhaps might not exist in other industries. So that's a lot of interesting points raised there. Thank you, Annie. And Jared, I'll come back to you now. And with June 7, what are some of the questions that you might be asking before you finalise a partnership or an agreement? You've got, I think your clients, you've got clients including Skyscanner, Safely from the short-term rental space. There was another OTA called Bring Fido, which you're in pet travel too.
Yep.
What are some of the questions that you would need to ask before securing an agreement with those?
Sure. I think for us, when we're looking at clients, and this goes back to my point before, just on both sides of the table, sort of auditing each other, we want to know that we have a true partner internally and someone for us on the marketing side that can actually implement, whatever our strategy is, our recommendations. We need an internal champion to carry that over the line and sort of push it through on the client side. And I think the same can be said, for other partnerships on the software side. If you're working with a channel manager, a PMS, a CMS, whatever it is, I think it's important that there's the wherewithal and the education level within the organization to really embrace that technology and get the most out of it internally. Because the last thing you want to do is onboard a new piece in your tech stack, and then all of a sudden you're only actually realizing 20% of all of its features and benefits. I think a lot of people, the classic one that I think all of us probably use and everyone on this call probably uses is something like a Google Analytics, or it's called now it's called GA4. So GA4 is super, super powerful. It can tell you really everything about user behavior and traffic on your website, but most brands are probably using 20 to 30 to maybe 40% of what it's fully capable of. And, it's a free software, so there's no opportunity cost there really. But that's just sort of one example where you have this really, really powerful piece of technology that, I think, the more that partners can help ensure that their client partners are trained up on the system in all departments, the better it works out for everyone.
I was wondering, is there a particular case study or an example of a client that you've helped what has been a really successful partnership, and maybe what were the kind of results from that?
Yeah, I won't name names here, but I think all of our successful partnerships have a few things in common. I think it's a willingness to embrace what we're selling. So for us, that's everything around search and content and brand strategy. So it's having folks who value those channels. We don't want to, if you don't see those as drivers of your business, then we're probably not the best partners for you. And then again, just down to the ability to actually land the strategy and land the implementation internally, having folks, having a marketing team, whether it's a single person or a team within in a larger org that can actually execute what we're recommending. Obviously, there's a budget conversation that has to be a part of any new client or new partner onboarding discussion. But I think, budgets aside, it's really, is there value that both sides see, and can you measure the results?
Yeah, I think some very wise words there, Jared. Thank you for those insights. Alexis, now over to you again, and with Le Collectionniste. I mentioned before you've got, I think, over 100 travel partners who right across the ecosystem and trip planning process. How do you identify travel partners that fit your business? And I think you said sometimes you develop your own tools internally, maybe with AI, rather than look further afield. Is that right?
Yes. Actually, of course, we have like tools that exist about payments. We also have like an agency that is helping us about all the ACA, SEO, and everything. But other than that, yeah, it was pretty hard for us to find the right partners on the ops parts. And usually it's because we don't find the right product, I mean, the right fit with our business. And the challenge that we face is that it's not a niche market, but it's really luxury segments where there won't be a lot of offers that combine all the level of detail that we need.
Could you expand a little bit more on what some of these tools, why they're not such a good fit for you? And
yeah, for instance, yeah, about the PMS, for instance, we have so many tags related to one house. We have so many different type of rooms. We need to have the exact size of the beds. We need to know if there's like curtains to, I mean, there's so many details, and the evil is in the detail, but for us, it's really our promise. It's to be sure that we can manage, control the whole house, and every house is completely different, as you can know. So there's no standard at all. And it's different from a destination to another. And we also have like summer destination, a winter destination in the Alps. And we couldn't find the exact tool that could bring us to that level of detail. Otherwise, we had to tweak every time the tool. So we said at the end, if we have to tweak the existing tool, I mean, that's available on the market, maybe it's wise to do it in ourselves. And also, we know that our needs and would evolve in the future, so we would be more flexible with the tool. So, but it was right at the beginning. We realized a long time ago about payment system, PMS, that we had to build our own. Same thing for, we have like a platform that is helping us to manage all the suppliers that we have for services. There's tons of course, offer on the market, but then we had to plug that to our existing in-house system. So then when you start to build your own, sometimes it's hard not to stop it and then to do some API connection between the different tools. Of course, we have some because sometimes we cannot do it by ourselves, but it's pretty much what we faced.
That's very interesting. That's fascinating to see how that develops in the future, whether more platforms will look to develop in-house, or maybe the PMSs themselves will adapt and become more specific. Thank you for that, Alexis. Now back to Eric, and Eric with Freewild. I know that you're working a lot with influencers and of course different properties to join your collection. How do you go about identifying those partners you really want to work with? I'm guessing with the influencers, it's not always just about the size of their audience, for example.
Yeah. Excuse me. Yeah, it's all about so give some context. We align with content creators who have a audience that will ultimately end up booking our properties or following Freewild on Instagram. And we've created this process where we part of our revenue management strategy is that we're giving away certain nights for free, a couple of nights per month, where we essentially just auction it off, right, for a night to stay. And we find these influencers, in the beginning, we were looking at like, someone who has 2, 3, 4, 5 million followers, thinking that because they have a big following, that's going to result to a positive result for us. But what we learned is you have to be super hyper focused on content creators that create content that will match your brand, and their audience is very similar to the guest avatar that would stay at our properties. And then equally on top of that, what we've learned is hyper focused audiences. So again, our first location is about 2 hours outside of LA, Orange County, and San Diego. So we look for content creators now that have, yes, a large following, but what's more important is engagement, high engagement with their posts. At real followers, you'll be surprised on how many content creators and influencers just buy fake followers. You got to be really careful with that. And then we find, regional content creators that have strong followings in SoCal, Southern California, for us. So that's been amazing to like, and it's pretty difficult to find them and negotiate terms and all that stuff. But right now, this year, our goal is to bring in one content creator a month. We give them 1 to 2 nights for free to come out. They create their own content in the property, and then we do a giveaway, a joint giveaway on their platform. If it's TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, whatever it is. And we drive that for a few weeks, and we give away an actual weekend stay to a guest. It's been absolutely incredible for us on our growth. And we've noticed, our Instagram is growing steadily, which is great. But what's more importantly is our engagement on our social media posts are just through the roof right now, which is fun, very fun. And now what we're seeing is our direct bookings are starting to tick up. Right. So last year we operated about 30% direct bookings. This year already, we're about 60% and still ticking up. And there's many different avenues of what we're doing marketing wise to drive that. But the content creators that was a home run for us. So it takes some time, but the biggest takeaway is, real content creators that have engaged following. So their engagement to the content that they're posting is high, real followers on their account, and they're creating content that matches your brand in a region of where your listings are. And if you can continue to have that flywheel flow, it'll impact greatly for your brand and listings. So
it's great to see that that's working for you and driving revenue and direct bookings, especially as this is also a revenue and partnerships session too. Do you think there will be some property managers, maybe some who are tuning in today, who have maybe concerns over budget and perhaps they wouldn't want to, or they don't feel like they could afford to pay that sort of money to an influencer or a content creator? So does that mean that it's not I'm trying to think how I could go about wording it, but is it not always right to hire a content creator or influencer, or are there other alternatives really that can help drive revenue that way?
Yeah, look, at the end of the day, it's marketing, right? So you have to have some type of budget to market your business and your properties, right? So whatever your budget is, we're still a pretty small company, so we have a small marketing budget, and we get really scrappy with how we leverage that. But there's different ways that you can leverage content creators, right? You could do trades of come out, stay at a property for a couple of days, create some awesome content, and then that's you're giving away nights. You're not necessarily giving away money. Some content creators require nights, staying at the property plus a fee, plus travel fees, things like that. So you got to be careful with that. Be really, really focused on that side. But yeah, there's different ways that you can do it, right? You don't necessarily have to pay content. We didn't pay in the beginning, but now once we understand the formula and we know for like essentially every dollar that we put into the right content creator and giveaway will generate about $3 out, right? So, and that took us a while to kind of figure out. So it's like in our minds, we're like, hey, let's do this as much as possible, but you're giving away a lot of your nights. So, and because we have a strong revenue management team, we look at what are the lowest nights that are likely to be booked for us. What are those gap dates? And those are the days that we're kind of playing with to fill content creators and giveaways. But yeah, you could also, what we've done in the past too, with just literally an iPhone, is created our own content, went on to CapCut, and we put together a cool little video, and we found some content creators to review the video and do a reaction on their platform. We did the giveaway that way as well. So we didn't pay anybody. We didn't have to give away nights, but we were able to create content. So you got to get creative with it. But yeah, have some type of budget to put towards it because it works with the right properties and the right brands.
Thank you, Eric. A reminder to our audience, if you've got any questions that you want to ask our panelists, do please pop them in the chat and make sure to leave time at the end for those. Jared, I think you raised your hand. Do you want to come in there?
Yeah, I'll make this real quick because I know this isn't a webinar about content creation. But first, I'd love to hear from Eric that they've figured out this formula and the strategy. I think that's super cool, and it's to your point, Eric, driving the incremental revenue that you get from a direct booking. That's huge value versus paying 15-20% to an OTA to not actually own that whole experience. So I think there is value if you think about it from your cost to sale perspective and in taking that commission and investing it in direct. So yeah, I just wanted to sort of piggyback on that point. And I think it's from a partner perspective, it's the Wild West out there in the influencer and the creator space. So having a way to really properly vet the folks that you're bringing in to work with you really as an extension of your marketing team is really important because yeah, you can lose your shirt pretty quick if you don't have that process in place.
I mean, as we're already talking here, Jared, I'll sort of loop this into my next question. But we talked before in my predictions article for 2025 in the short-term rental industry, and we were talking about AI and LLMs as well. I don't know how much time we've got to talk about those. What are some of the sort of partnerships that you think we're going to start seeing emerging in the space this year? I think one really interesting one that we thought at was OpenAI and launching this AI agent operator and some of the partnerships that it's created for travel. I don't know if you want to expand on that.
Yeah, I mean, look, we can't have a webinar without mentioning AI, right? That wouldn't be right in this day and age. Yeah, there's a lot to talk about here. I think to be brief, I mean, what we're seeing and a lot of what we're doing in the search space is directly impacted by AI. So we're pretty deep in it ourselves right now. I think on the short-term rental side, just to make it more contextually relevant, I think in general, and this is a broad statement, but I think that all short-term rental businesses, if you're a property manager, if you're a brand, a marketplace, you need to start embracing AI. That goes without saying. But I also think that just diving headfirst into onboarding different tools and platforms and chatbots, and that's not necessarily smart either. So I think having a basic AI strategy and a business and a use case defined before you even start reaching out to partners or before you start fielding inbound cold calls from partners, is super important. So understand, how can AI serve your business? Is it you need it to actually parse through customer data to then spit out something so that you can remarket to a better audience? Is it something operational, in terms of how you serve guests on property? I think it's, think about where AI can fit in your entire sales funnel And then you can start having those conversations with different platforms and different tech.
Thank you for that, Jared. And Annie, I'll come to you. And along the same lines, really, what are some of the new partnerships that you think we might see emerging? I mean, we talked there about OpenAI and an operator. I can think of the talk about Expedia partnering with Uber. Are we going to see more partnerships with tech companies or fintech or mobility? How do you see maybe things panning out this year?
Oh my gosh, my crystal ball is like jumbled up right now. I think there's so many opportunities. I think everybody's focus is really on the AI and kind of to Jared's point. I mean, it's like deciding what it can do for your business. For Next Packs, like we looked at AI and there's a lot of things that we could do for it, but what we looked at a problem that we had was optimization of photos and content. So how do we do that for the partner so that they're not stuck on the channels trying to make sure that their photos are sized right, if they're tagged correctly, those type of things that impact their score and kind of how the consumer sees their listing. So we drilled into something very specific, a need that we had. And in terms of partnerships, I think that AI is going to dominate a lot of what we do, but then there's going to be, I would say, some more consolidation within tech. So there might be some partnerships that aren't even in anybody's mind right now that could come together. I don't know what those are. I know that we talk about it on the podcast that I co-host, and there's just so much out there to be done that it's kind of an open, we talk about the vacation rental world being the Wild West, and I don't see that changing anytime soon. I think there's vast amount of opportunity, and I think it's just really about where people can be creative to provide something unique. I think what Eric's done with FreeWild, like it's unique and it's different, but it still is within the hospitality space so people can understand the concept of it and it's not completely out of left field. It's something that their interest is piqued. And I think there's going to be a lot more of those type of things with unique stays and unique ways to service the guest. And then, really about, adopting of channels. That's one thing that I see a lot. The European market loves channels. They believe in lots of distribution. The US market, not so much. I think that they're a little more skeptical about what channels will do. So I think that the US is going to be about this year about some channels that maybe have been growing slowly are going to really emerge as leaders for new types of guests and new types of travel. So I don't know. Lots of things could happen. We'll see. We'll talk at the end of the year.
Yeah, I'll piggyback on a question we got from Andy Cool as well. And Annie, if you could, I don't know if it went to the whole audience, but Andy asked, are you currently exploring partnerships with service providers to offer similar services to what Airbnb is doing, enabling property management companies to provide a hotel-like experience?
Yeah, it's interesting. So we're actually we've gone into the hotel space the last 18 months, really kind of hardcore with some connections that we have. As far as services go, I think that for providers that do property level or guest level services, you're really best to work directly with the property manager so that you can make sure that they understand what the service is. Coming from the channel management side of things, I don't know that that's a space that it makes sense for us to be in. I think that we certainly like to know what's going on so we can help, again, optimize content if somebody's using these services. But I did answer Andy. I think it's best served for those type of operators to be directly in the PMS and directly with the property managers themselves.
Thank you, Annie. And Eric, you raised your hand as well. Do you want to come in on that point?
Yeah, I just want to touch on, I agree. I think, AI is going to disrupt a lot and also enhance a lot. But I also, with our brand FreeWild, we're betting on the fact that as AI grows, more and more humans and especially travelers are going to be seeking unique experiences, human experiences, right? And so we're going all in on that. We have an aspect of our brand here at the cabins where it's called Wild Mode, where you lock your phones away and it unlocks an experience that helps you connect with nature and the people that you're traveling with. So we believe that what we're seeking in our partnerships are more experience-based for our travelers, right? I think there's going to be an endless amount of partnerships when it comes to AI and different services and all the things. But I also think there's going to be a rise in what we call the experience economy. And I think that's where we're going to see more of kind of like what Airbnb was touching on years ago. And, I guess they still have it with Airbnb experiences. But I think there's going to be more services and more desire for guests to tap into that. So that's what we're seeking. It's really challenging to do that because that's human and human. And, of course, you can leverage some tech. But that's what we're seeking for our brands because, I think with the rise of AI and tech, we're also going to see a desire for just human experiences with travel.
I have to say, I really like what you're talking about there, Eric, and the guest experience economy. I think what you're doing, we've started to see more cabin rental agencies pop up in different parts of the world, but I think you're definitely tapping into something that's relatively untapped in the US, and it's going to be fascinating to see how you guys grow in the next couple of years.
Thank you.
I'll come over to Alexis. Alexis, you've had a question also from Andy Coy. It might have just been to host it.
Yes, I've seen it.
I'll just read the question and then
yeah, sorry.
you can go to it. And so Andy says, I understand that one of the key aspects of Le Collectionniste is its excellence in added services such as private chefs, massages, and more. Airbnb recently announced the upcoming launch of Airbnb services. What do you think will be the main challenge they will face in achieving success? You want to take that?
Yes, just before answering, maybe I wanted to add a point of Eric about experience and what we see also in the luxury segment about there's a little bit of a switch of habits of before it was really common for wealthy people to have like Chanel bags and everything and really think you can buy. And now it's going toward like experience, more like I want to really enjoy my vacations with my family, my friends. This is a luxury for me to be with my family, to have time compared to just buying more and more clothes and any accessories. So just on Eric's point. And so about the Airbnb doing some services, we don't see Airbnb as a direct competitor to us because for us, Airbnb is like a tech company, and in our space, you have to be an ops company. Of course, you need to have tech around it, but it would mean that, I mean, our clients, they don't want to deal directly with the owners. They don't want to deal with any questions or anything. So that would be the same for services. I mean, our clients, they are changing their mind all the time for restaurant reservation, for anything that they booked, and they want to deal with all that. So I would say maybe a part of it could be like a threat on like low segments rental we could do. But I think it's good anyway to have a platform that can, I think, offer services an easy way. And we are trying actually to do that on our own app. But at the end, it's the client just want to deal with one person, and we see the expense as a package. I mean, the house plus like usually they have 5 to 10 services, so we don't see this as a threat to us. And for Airbnb, the challenge would be, I mean, it's the same challenge that we see, I mean, today with the owners. It's just that you are putting people in a conversation where you don't actually control the conversation more or less. But that would be.
Yeah, that's a fascinating perspective. Thank you for that, Alexis. Got just a couple of minutes left. So, Jared, I'll come to you on this. I think you're very well placed here. What would be your advice for people to go out and find about prospective new partners? Is it events? Is it educating themselves about the industry? Is it word of mouth? What would be your advice for that?
Sure. I mean, I think events are great. I think trade shows are great. A lot of times you can actually get a demo right then and there from at least a tech vendor. So I think that's useful. You can see the actual software at play in use. I think also, I know there's a bunch of different closed Facebook groups, which tend to be very, very eye-opening and insightful because it's not a public forum. So you sometimes, if you're a member of those groups, you get some of that real talk and no BS feedback that you might not get on other platforms. So I think, there's a lot of different groups in short-term rentals and other segments of the travel industry. So I find those valuable. And then, yeah, just talking to people, talking to your partners, like Annie said, having that network, having those very close contacts who can give you unbiased advice is always nice to have.
Thank you, Jared. Annie, anything you'd like to add? You're a podcast host yourself, so what sort of responsibility do you feel to educate people about what's happening in the industry and make people aware of new players?
Yeah, so if you do listen to the podcast or you see any of my posts, I'm really passionate about trying to bring kind of all sides of the industry together. I think that for a long time there's been, in the US specifically, there's the VR and there's the STR, and those worlds like kind of there's friction between them, and whether it actually exists or it's perceived. So I think, like, from a podcaster standpoint, we really try to make sure that we're looking at the industry as a whole instead of in segments, and try to bring on guests that could speak across both spectrums. So, like, we've had Eric on before to talk about his business and what he's doing, and he's a smaller operator, but we've also talked to operators that have 10, 15, 20,000 units. So, I mean, you want to get everybody's perspective on how to scale a business, how to find your tech stack, how to build your tech stack, whether it's, you do it internally. I think it's just being able to provide the breadcrumbs for people to follow to get to the information that they're needing, and help them understand that there's a lot of people out there that want to help you succeed. This isn't I feel like I was in hotels for a little bit. Hotels are very singular, and like, you work for a brand, you only focus on that brand, and it's very competitive. Well, I think that in the vacation rentals and short-term rentals, it's competitive. We all want to help each other, and it's that, rising tide lifts all boats type of theory.
Thank you, Annie, and that brings an end to today's conversation. I want to say a big thank you to all of our contributors today, to Annie, to Jared, to Alexis, and to Erica. I'm sure we could have talked for much longer, but thank you very much for your words and conversation today. So we've got a couple of slides just to run through very quickly before we finish up today. Our next webinar is in 2 weeks exactly, on Tuesday, the 11th of February, same time, 4 p.m. GMT UK time. And that's going to be discussing leveraging TV technology to upsell services and promote your brand. And this one is in partnership with LG Electronics. So we're really looking forward to that. It's not going to be me hosting this time. It's going to be my colleague, George Sell, our editor-in-chief here at IHM. So really hope you can join us then, and the link is in the chat for you too. And a note with the Shorties coming around the corner again, the Shorties Awards back for a 6th edition. That's on Tuesday, the 1st of April, and our entries period is open until the 10th of February, again, 23:59 GMT. So make sure you submit your no-cost entries in as many of the 20 categories as you wish. The link to the awards platform is going to be posted in the chat. It'd be great to see lots of you there in London in April, and with the dress code of Dress to Impress. So hope to see a lot of you there. Opportunities to work with us, please do contact my colleague Sam. His details are on screen, our head of growth at Short-Term Rentals, and it's a great time to be working with us across webinars, podcasts, you name it, across all of our content. This session is going to remain open for just another 2 minutes with all of the details from the chat. I want to say a big thank you to Price Labs for sponsoring this webinar and our series. A big thank you to all of our speakers, and of course to everyone tuning in today. We'll see you all again very soon. Thank you very much, everyone.
Hello, we are International Hospitality Media, or IHM for short. IHM is the #1 brand to engage with decision makers in hospitality and real estate. Our 4 multimedia brands lead their respective sectors with breaking news, comments, trends, and opinions across a variety of multimedia solutions. We provide an inspirational community to connect people through world-class events, webinars, podcasts, award schemes, and much more. But let us share our story of who we are and what we do. Over 10 years ago, Piers and George had a light bulb moment to provide expert opinion, comments and low-cost digital content. And so, they went on a journey over the past decade, creating media platforms to serve the hospitality and real estate industries. We now have an engaged audience with a reach of over 60,000 monthly visitors across our website, 52,500 in our email database across all sectors, and over 68,000 across our social channels. Everything we do challenges the status quo. We believe in thinking differently. We make things simple and very easy to work with us, and we're a friendly bunch too. We offer creative solutions to help you achieve your business goals. Read, watch, listen, and meet with IHM. Connect with us for a chat today. Just look at some of the brands we have worked with recently.